So thank you all for joining us for our second colorblind conversations, colorblind being the name of our book that will be released by Westbow Publishing late April, early May 2026. So we're just going to hit on a few topics that we think may whet your appetite. And the first one is that, well, I'll take one step back. Cornelius and I met when I was a coach and he was a player at the boys' clubs of Memphis in the 80s. So we spent 4 seasons together. He had the sweetest jump shot I'd ever seen, which, didn't mean a lot because he was still a bad kid, but he did have a sweet jump shot. But we had 4 seasons together when he was in his teenage years, 15 through 18, I think. I was 22, so in a perfect world, there would have been a bigger age difference since I was supposed to be an authority figure, but I didn't really even know what that looked like. But we figured it out. And then after 4 seasons together, we have spent the last 45 years just doing life with our wives, with our kids, with our church. Kind of our entire lives are now intertwined. But one of the interesting kind of connections is that we both chose to adopt our children, and Cornelius and I spent many lunches down, I remember TGI Fridays in Overton Square in Memphis, talking about or kind of checking the temperatures of our wives, because it was honestly an emotional roller coaster for them. So we would say, all right, how's Veronica holding up? Not well. How's Karen holding up? Not well. And we would just kind of commiserate that, dang, I wish, somebody would find us a baby so we don't have to continue on this roller coaster. And kind of as God would have it, our adoptions were 4 months, meager 4 months apart. Cornelius and Veronica adopted Melvin. It must have been like summer time frame of Michael was born in 1997, and we adopted Michael in September of 97. So we had to chuckle that after all kind of the trials and tribulations of adoption and our wives, being caught up in the emotions of it, our sons were adopted 4 months apart. But I don't know, Cornelius, how you feel, but we had our 4 seasons of basketball together. And then, as I've heard you say before, our friendship grew organically, naturally. We had never talked about adoption as a player coach, but that was one of the things that solidified our friendship.
Right.
I think, and I don't know your take.
That's true, because I don't think other than family, we talked about relationships at all, whether wives or girlfriends or anything at that time. It was more of what are we dealing with right now, and that was basketball and the fact of dealing with family and how do we just get through this season. And I think a lot of things happen after basketball that we stayed connected throughout the years, and I can't remember how we got on that subject, but I do remember being at TGI Fridays where first we were standing in the parking lot before we went in, and we looked at each other and said, man, my wife's thinking about adopting, and then you said, same here. So, and what are the odds of that after coming back together for so many years to find out that we both were in the middle of discussions about adopting?
Oh, absolutely. And I think preceding the adoption discussions and actually adoption itself, we visited careers. So we were through with basketball seasons together, and you probably would have been 18, 19, I don't know what age, but it was time for you, because I already had, I don't know, at that point, 10 years under my belt in a career. And you, I think, said, hey, coach, or whatever you called me post-basketball days, now it's time for me to start thinking careers, etc. Hey, what do you do, if you didn't already know? And I was in the food service business, selling food, restaurants and hotels and schools, etc. And you said, talking about whether it's coincidence or God ordained, hey, my favorite subject at Treadwell High School was food service, and my favorite teacher was the food service teacher. Maybe that's a natural path to go down. Can you introduce me to some people or help me make contacts? And I remember first contact was Chef Gary at the Racquet Club of Memphis, very prominent country club in Memphis. And, typically as introductions and follow-up interviews, typically it's a long process. Chef Gary hired you on the spot. It's like, really?
Right.
This kid has no idea how hard it is for most of us.
Right.
Submit resumes, tell me your strengths, weaknesses. He said, you're hired.
Right.
And it's like, dang, but I always saw that as a compliment to you and the way you were raised.
Right.
You were able to look him in the eyes. You were able to give him a firm handshake, enunciate your name, and people have said, wow, Ramsey, you really did a good job preparing him for the interview. I said, no, all I did is drove him to the Racquet Club of Memphis and made the introduction, but all the other stuff points back to his mom, who we call Granny Annie. So but it takes a village.
That's true. But also I think that based on the relationship that you had with Chef Gary, he knew that you probably wouldn't just bring him someone that you knew nothing about or didn't have any work ethic or anything like that. So it was a combination of things, because if it wasn't for the introduction, I wouldn't have the opportunity to show if I had any skills or not. So thank you again for that.
Yeah.
But prior to that, you introduced me. You remember John Morris. I guess you guys had worked together, but but he was a family friend, and I ended up working at the Sheraton downtown. And as an 18-year-old kid, working early mornings, weekends, as far as breakfast, that was the first time I ever got laid off of a job. And man, I was devastated. How can you be 18 years old and get laid off? It's like, what do I do now? So what did I do? I called you and said, hey man, I got laid off. I mean, 18 and getting laid off, where do they do that at?
Oh, wow.
So, and then you made the introduction to the Racquet Club.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I think I was probably part of the problem at the Sheraton.
Getting laid off.
Yeah, I kind of put a bug in the air. He may not be any good, so watch him. But I also, in addition to working with John Morris, worked with a guy, Michael, his name escapes me, whose account was the Sheraton.
Gotcha.
And my guess is I put a bug in his ear, will you see if they're hiring? And so, yeah, one up, one win,
yeah,
one loss.
Yeah. So,
That's
that's life.
That's life.
You know, you win some, you lose some, and some are rained out.
Yeah,
so you
that's
just keep going.
True.
But that was a lesson, you know, at 18 that, you know, things don't always work out. So you can't waddle in it. You pick yourself up and figure out what you're going to do next.
Yeah, and it's also kind of a lesson that we put forward in our book, Colorblind, because one of the themes is community engagement. So Cornelius and I share our story as an example of, hey, you can engage in a million ways, and really just whatever your DNA is, that's the starting place. I played basketball. I never coached a day in my life until I was 22 years old and coached at the boys club, but I figured I played, I understand the game, surely I can coach. Well, not surely, but the first year surely didn't work out because I tried to be everybody's friend and that didn't work. But years 2 through 10, I became a drill sergeant and that worked just fine. But we talk about in the book that, hey, you know, don't get paralyzed about what it is you're going to, how or what you're going to engage in. Do I do sports? My son plays Little League baseball, so I get that. Maybe I take that lesson into the inner city, and or my daughter is a dancer, so I kind of understand that a little bit. Maybe I take that into the inner city. We just advocate what's in your DNA. I mean, if you're a banker, your DNA is finance. Take finance into the inner city. Show somebody how to make a budget and keep a budget. Write a check. To us, that might come across as juvenile. To people who have never been taught or exposed, it's life-changing.
Right.
So I think that analogy of, hey, you know, I got fired from my first, or
No, I wasn't fired.
oh, you got let off.
Yeah, I got laid off. I mean,
Oh.
so that sounds better and feels better.
Okay.
But in essence, I mean, you're not coming back. So I guess you are.
And it's
Yeah.
like, hey, that is life. And so you got two choices. Well, just waddle in your misery that you got laid off, or dust yourself off and come back. And hey, if you jump into volunteer work or community engagement and your first attempt doesn't work out, hey, it's not like you've invested a lifetime.
Right.
Typically, you work, if you're helping a kid learn to read, you work with them 1 hour a week for maybe 3 months. So that's maybe 12 total hours invested. If it doesn't work, hey, hit the pause button and
right.
try something. So we just advocate, don't get paralyzed by wondering what ifs.
Right. Right. It's not the end of the world. If something doesn't work out, try something else. Try and try again. You'll find that right thing that's a good fit for you if you just stay with it and keep trying.
Yeah, and I know you're a big proponent of don't try to reinvent the wheel. Let it happen organically or naturally. If you're a basketball guy and you're coaching kids, well, that's your connection, and that's not very hard. If you're a academic type or an educator and you're teaching kids to read, well, it's not hard on your part because you're trained in it and you've got a kid who desperately wants to read at the third grade level, which seems to be a benchmark for a kid's success or failure in life. Well, if you're the teacher, you can do it blindfolded.
Right.
So, yeah, I think all those things go hand in glove, and they're just life. There's just life lessons. We talk about our 4 years of basketball, but then our 45 years of doing life, it's just a cycle, a season of doing life
Together.
and the things that go along with it. So, yeah. And another topic theme is racial justice, racial reconciliation. Did we go into this trying to solve race relations? Nope. Was I intentional about stuff I saw at East High School in the 5th grade racially that wasn't right? Yeah, I wanted to fix it, but I was 11 years old. I didn't have the whereabouts, but I told myself when I get out of school, I'm going to do something. And, get out of school, I was like, okay, now how am I going to? I figured, I don't really know, but maybe if I make a difference in one player's life or a few players' lives, that's what I can do, and hope that the domino effect kicks in.
Well, you said something as a 5th grader, you saw injustice and inequity, and you didn't know what to do, but it stuck with you. And there may be others out there that have seen something that didn't happen recently or today or whatever, but was aware something was just not right. And then figure out a way how you can go in and correct that and work towards solving that. So if you walk away from a situation to say that I didn't do anything at the moment, that's okay. When you get another opportunity to do something and you feel like you're better equipped to handle it, then step in and do that. Because I'm sure that wasn't the last time that happened as a 5th grader. So let's not make it so complicated.
I know.
And there's never be the right time to do it. As you mentioned in the last podcast, just do it. And if it doesn't work, try something else. It's okay. It's not the end of the world.
No. And our last chapter, which really we take the first 9 chapters and try to condense it, is all about action steps, tangible ways to engage in the community. And as you just mentioned, chapter 10 is titled Just Do It, kind of a play on the old Nike slogan for Michael Jordan, just do it. And we've spoken to groups who will say, hey, how did this happen? And it was kind of like, well, we felt it was important to get off of the sidelines and into the game. We didn't really know what that looked like, but we had to start somewhere, and it's just that easy. 12 hours over the course of 3 months. You're trying something.
Yeah.
And the rest will take care of itself. And I guess we would be remiss if we didn't say the book, maybe I said it on the front end. If I did, I apologize. But the book will be out the latter part of April or the early part of May 2026, and can be purchased through Amazon. When we get the hard copies published, we will then set up a series of book signings, which we'd love to. It'll kind of be meet and greets. Cornelius and I will kind of kick it off with a little backstory of the book, and you'll be able to purchase the book. You'll be able to talk to us, questions, how do I replicate? So sometimes the book signings are a fun, intimate way to kind of discover more, peel back the onion of what colorblind is all about.
Gotcha.